There is a point where a woman has to stop asking only, what is it in me that keeps attracting this? And start asking a much blunter question. What kind of environment am I repeatedly meeting these men in? Because not every pattern is purely psychological. Not every repeated disappointment means there is some deep flaw in your standards, your healing, your boundaries, or your self-worth. Sometimes the pattern is also ecological. Sometimes you are not standing in a field of healthy options. Sometimes you are standing in an environment heavily populated by people who are unstable, lonely, underprepared, aging without structure, financially strained, domestically overwhelmed, emotionally hungry, carrying children, debts, regrets, and unfinished lives, desperate for support, looking for shortcuts. And in those environments, a decent, capable, grounded woman does not just stand out, she becomes prime target material. Because where there is a high concentration of need, lack, and unfinished adulthood, a stable woman is not always perceived romantically first. She is perceived functionally as help, as rescue, as order, as relief, as structure, as a second chance, as support, as a way out. And this is what many women miss. They think, I keep attracting users. What is wrong with me? But sometimes the answer is not, there is something wrong with you. Sometimes the answer is, you are fishing in contaminated waters. That matters because if the environment itself contains high proportion of people who are looking not for mutual love, but for leverage, support, and relief, then self-work alone will not fully solve the problem. You can heal, you can grow, you can become more discerning, you can strengthen your boundaries, and still keep running into the same kind of person if your environment keeps supplying that kind of person at high volume. This is why some women remain trapped in self-analysis for too long. They keep treating every pattern as if it is entirely internal. So they ask, am I too nice? Am I too open? Am I too understanding? Am I choosing badly? Am I wounded? And maybe some of that matters, right? But environment matters too, a lot. Because human behavior changes by setting. In some circles, a man sees a capable woman and thinks, I need to become worthy of her. In other cycles, he sees that same woman and thinks, she could solve a lot for me. Same woman, different ecology, different response. That is why women must become more honest about context. Who are you surrounded by? How are you meeting men? What age or life stage are they in? What burdens are they carrying? What level of stability is common in that pool? What is normal there? Mutuality or opportunism? What kind of men does that environment naturally produce? Because some environments contain a higher concentration of men in crisis, men in transition, men seeking domestic rescue, men looking for financial support, men who are tired, lonely, scrambling, and unprepared men who want benefits of partnership without the maturity for it. And if you are consistently meeting men in those contexts, then yes, your discernment matters, but so does your exposure. You do not only need better filters, you may need a better pond. And that is the brutal truth. Because no matter how wise a woman becomes, if she keeps sourcing from heavily compromised environments, she will spend too much of her energy screening out people who never should have been in the pool to begin with. And that is exhausting and it is unnecessary. A woman's peace often improves not only when she heals emotionally, but when she becomes much more selective around where and how she is available. That may mean radically changing where she meets men, narrowing the pool dramatically, requiring stronger social proof, paying attention to community, reputation, and stability, refusing men in obvious transition, dependency, or unresolved crisis, refusing to be accessible in spaces where desperation is high and integrity is low. Because the truth is, when an environment is full of people looking for relief, the most capable person in the room gets haunted differently, and women need to stop taking that personally. Not every repeated experience is proof that you are unconsciously choosing pain. Sometimes it is proof that you are overexposed to contaminated options, and that is a different problem, and it requires a different solution, not just more healing, more environmental intelligence, the wisdom to recognize that who surrounds you shapes who approaches you. the wisdom to understand that not every place deserves access to you, the wisdom to stop calling every lesson growth when some of it is simply poor placement, because a stable, self-respecting woman should not have to spend her life fending for opportunities in low-quality environments and calling that discernment. At some point, discernment also means changing the terrain, protecting your access points, reducing unnecessary exposure, becoming unavailable not only to certain men but to the ecosystems that keep producing them. So, this is the advice. Stop asking only, why do I keep meeting men like this? Also ask, what kind of environment keeps making these men so available to me? Because that question can save you years, and it can free you from a form of self-blame that was never truly yours to carry. Sometimes the issue is not that you are magnetizing dysfunction. Sometimes the issue is that you are standing where dysfunction gathers. Move. Not out of fear, out of wisdom. Because healing is not only internal. Sometimes healing looks like changing the water. God bless you.